Mr. Right here. Now, writing a number as a product of prime factors is something that comes up almost, if not, every year on IGCSE. So you need to be really fluent at this. And in this film, I'll show you 3 different methods. So you're sure to find one that works for you. And also, at the end of the film, I'll show you a calculator hack too. Right, let's get on. So 3 methods and a calculator hack coming at the end. So method number 1, this is the method that I learned when I was at school. And you might call it the ladder method, I suppose. I think it's the most complicated of the methods, but I'll show you because perhaps it'll suit you. You need to know your prime numbers, 2, 3, 5, 7, and so on. And what you do is you write the number that you are working on. I'm going to write 180 as a product of its prime factors, and you divide by the first prime number until the first prime number won't divide into your number anymore. 2 won't go into 45, so now I go up to the next prime number. 3 will. 3 goes into 45 15 times. Will 3 go in again? Yes, it will. Will 3 go in again? No, it won't. Will the next prime number go in? Yes, it will. 5 goes in once. And once you have an answer of 1, then you've finished and you can simply write that 180 is, and now I'm going to read off these numbers here, 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 5. So that's method number 1, sometimes called the ladder method, because they think that this looks a bit like a ladder. If you want to have a go at method 1 yourself, why not pause the film in a moment and have a go at doing 240, at writing 240 as a product of its primes using the ladder method. Pause the film, have a go. Okay, now I'm going to do this one. So I'm going to divide 2 into 240 until I can't divide 2 in any longer. Of course, as long as the number's even, you can divide 2 into it. Right, 2 doesn't go into 15. Does 3? Yes, it does. It goes 5 times. 3 doesn't go into 5. The next prime number is 5. Does 5 go in? Yes, it does. It goes in once. So according to the ladder method, 240 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 5, which, as you probably know, you can write as 2 to the power 4 times 3 times 5. Okay, that's method 1. That's my least favourite method, and that's the ladder method, but perhaps you like it, in which case you might choose to use it. Method number 2. Now, this is the method that I teach now at school, and I suppose you could call it a factor tree or something like that. You start with 180, which is the number we're going to write as a product of its prime factors, and you split it into 2 numbers which multiply together to give 180. Now, some people are tempted just to always go for 2 and think, 2 times what? 2 times 90. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but my hint is that if you're dealing with a number that ends in a 0, well then, without thinking, you know that it's 10 times something, in this case, 10 times 18. So if your number starts with a 0, pull out 10 first. So I've split 180 into 10 times 18. I can split 10 again into 2 times 5. Now, 2 is a prime number, so I've finished with that one. 5 is a prime number, so I've finished with that one. Now, how could I split 18? Different ways, of course. I'm going to split it into 3 sixes. 3 is a prime, so I'll circle that. 6 isn't finished yet. It can change to 2 times 3. Now I've got, some of my students call cherries at the end of each of my branches because I've circled them, those prime numbers. So now I can write that 180 is, I've got 2 here, 2 times 2, look, 2 times 2 times, I've got 3 and a 3 times 3 times 3 times 5. And of course, you can write that as 2 squared times 3 squared times 5 if you want to. So this is a sort of factor tree method. Why don't you have a go, if you'd like to, and do 240. Why don't you write 240 as a product of its prime factors using the factor tree method. And by the way, it ends in a 0, so start with 10 times something. Pause the film, have a go. Okay, 10 times 24, I'm going to do. 10 is 2 times 5, and both of those can be circled. 24, I'll do that as 6 times 4. The 6 will become 2 times 3, and the 4 will become 2 times 2. There we go. So that means that 240 can be written as, I've got 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. And that can be written as 2 to the power of 4 times 3 times 5. Okay, so that's method number 2, factor tree method. I think that's pretty common now. Most people probably use that method. But I've got a method number 3, and I've also got a calculator hack. Right, method number 3. Now, method number 3 is kind of just using common sense, really. So if I do an example as 180, it's kind of like the factor tree method without the tree, because I know that 180 is 10 times 18. Now I can split the 10 into 2 times 5. So that comes from the 10 and the 18. I could split into 6 times 3, that will do. Now the 2 is finished, the 5 is finished, the 6 I could split into 2 times 3, and then I've got a times 3 at the end. Now that's kind of done, isn't it? So that is 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 5, which is 2 to the power of 2 times 3 squared times 5. Okay, so that's 180 done in that way. And you'll find if you do them this way that you become much quicker. Try 240. Try 240. Okay, pause the film, have a go. Of course, I hope you're going to start with 10 times something, because that would be sensible. Okay, 240, 10 times 24, which is 2 times 5 times, what should we say, 12 times 2, which is 2 times 5. Now 12, I'll make that 6 twos. 6 times 2 times 2. 2 times 5 times 6 is 3 times 2 times 2 times 2. And now you can see that I've got 2 to the power of 4 times 3 times 5. Now the nice thing about doing it this way, I think, is that you can take 240, for example, and I can say, well, I know that's 10. Okay, now 24, I know that's 8 threes. And then if you know 10 is 2 times 5, well, I know that 8 is 2 cubed already, times 3. So that gives me 2 to the power of 4 times 3 times 5. I kind of like this way because you can be a bit more flexible. But if you want a fail-safe method, then probably the factor trees is your answer. Now, I said I had a calculator hack, and here it comes. Right, so here is my calculator, and this is my calculator hack for writing numbers as products of prime factors. All one does is put the number in and press equals. Right, 180 is the number we're dealing with. Now, you can probably see that one of my buttons has fact written above it in yellow there, fact. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press shift so that I'm using the yellow function and press the fact button, which stands for factorize, and hey presto, there is my number written as a product of primes. Okay, let's try 240 equals, shift and press the fact button, and hey presto, there it is. It's good, isn't it? Now, remember that in most exams, you need to show your working when you're writing numbers as a product of prime factors. So you can't simply stick the number in your calculator, press the fact button, and write down the answer. But you can use this calculator hack to check that your answer is correct.